Hi guys, so this isn't my typical week to post a video, but I had a really bizarre situation happen in my internship, so I asked Sandra if I could post an additional video just to get your guys' feedback. I also apologize for the lighting. I have a pink lamp in my room, so that's why everything's kind of pink, since we don't have any outside light anymore. So, a little background story of my weird situation this week. Before I came to my internship, there was a client in the program, and we missed each other by about a week. The client contacted my supervisor and asked if she could return. He, of course, agreed and said that was not a problem to come on it. So she came for her intake, and I kind of had like a sinking suspicion that I knew her from somewhere, but I kind of just kept my mouth shut until I could figure it out. Well, during group, she started talking about why she was there, which was because of an ex. They had an on and off relationship for about 4 years. They had lived together, that kind of stuff. Well, she started describing this gentleman, I realized it was also my ex from about 3 years ago. So her and I had kind of overlapped in, I guess, hopefully one of their off times. So I realized this while we were in group. I didn't say anything. I was going to say something to my supervisor afterwards and let him know, hey, we have an issue of conflict of interest. But as group progressed, she started realizing who I was. And during our intake, Mike and I had asked her, had she had contact with this person between when they broke up and now. She denied having contact, said she hadn't seen him. He had just brought over a few things that she had left at his apartment and gave her her birthday gifts that he had previously bought her, and that was it. They don't speak anymore, that, she's moving on. Well, during group, when she started putting everything together, her lie came out because she started texting him to figure out who I was, and how I knew him and all of this stuff. I left group during the middle to go check on a client who had stepped out. Again, she had asthma. I was just making sure she was okay. And I was headed back into group when this client, who I share an ex with, came charging out of the group after making the announcement to the entire group of how we knew each other, and started confronting me about being his ex, all these types of things. So I acknowledged that I knew him. I knew him from other areas too, from my undergrad education. I had done some ride-alongs. He's a police officer. I had ridden along with him. I mean, we had completely platonic relationships outside of our actual dating relationship, which is very brief and short. So she started confronting me, and honestly, I was a little nervous because she kind of came at me as if she was going to hit me. And so I acknowledged that I knew him. I went back into the therapy session. She followed me in there and politely sat for the rest of the session. And so that was kind of my awkward moment for the night. So I talked to my advisor afterwards, and he had said, I'll have a conversation with her tomorrow, and basically that it was going to be a conflict of interest and we were going to have her go to a different group. Well, after group was over, so there were some clients lingering around in the front waiting area, and I walked up to the front office to get our sheet for attendance and overheard her telling someone that I would not engage in full disclosure with her and acknowledge that I had a relationship with him. And then she proceeded to text multiple individuals who were still in group from when she was in group that there was a conflict of interest and she couldn't attend group anymore, and that we were kicking her out of the program, and all of these false statements. Which the bigger concern here was this gentleman had previously stalked me, and I didn't get a restraining order because he was a police officer, and it would be very difficult for me in which to do that. So it was a major safety concern on my end. So my question to you guys is, how would you have handled the confrontation between the two of us, of her realizing that we shared an ex, is my first one. And then also, how would you address the conflict of interest with the rest of the group members who she had either texted or were hanging around in the lobby afterwards? Because right now it's a bit of an issue. I don't want to have, trust issues between myself and my other clients. And just to let you guys know, she's actually been closed out of our program completely. She's not allowed at this mental health center at all because of her reactions. And so she's actually going to be transferred to another program through a different hospital. So thankfully, we hopefully won't bump into each other again. But thanks for taking the time to listen.